The game was awesome. And Jacoby, my big takeaway from that game, and we'll get into the Steph, the Klay, all that stuff, but that felt like a round 2 or a round 3 playoff game to me. And I wasn't positive that the Warriors maybe were ready to swim in that pool yet, despite all the evidence. They've had some good games. They have a good record. But that tonight felt like round 2 or round 3 to me. What'd you think?
I was so sick of this game by like 4 o'clock this afternoon. It was just the coverage just over. It's just so much Klay returning. And like knowing what I know about Klay, I didn't think that he cared that much, but it lived up to all the hype. Like even the announcement, I cried very easily. So I got a little like emotional. I didn't cry, but I got a little emotional. I was about to. I was like, God, I can't believe he's not crying. And then the start of the game, they give him the ball. Yeah, they give him the ball. The first play, he gets fouled. He goes to the line, but it was up and down for Klay. Like I felt so connected to him, and I was rooting for him so hard. He had an air ball off the side of the backboard in the third quarter, and then another air ball after that. And I was like, oh no, this is falling apart. But then he had a nice little flourish in the fourth quarter. The whole day, I was skeptical about this entire experience watching this basketball tonight, and I could not have enjoyed it more.
Kirk, he didn't even mention Steph Curry, who is back with a capital B, doing Steph Curry stuff. I was thinking as he was doing it, I'm gonna really miss it when it's gone. Like a 10 out of 10. I think about the future when we don't have Jokic and Curry, and it just makes me sad because those are my 2 favorite day-to-day league pass guys. I'm just trying to appreciate it in the moment, but he did it again. It was almost like it was Klay's night. And there was a little like he had to big boy the night a little bit, it felt like, didn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it felt like the Warriors were going to lose that game. I think they were down 7 or something, I want to say. Yeah. And then Stephen he was like, I'm the prime splash brother right now, and I'm going to take over. And I feel like we're seeing the night more often than ever, starting with the Olympics. But also, I think that's 2 nights we've seen this week alone. But this one was especially sort of potent with Klay, who had a pretty good shooting night, a couple of bad ones, like Jacoby said. Yeah. But still ended up, it was nice to see Klay make 6 threes. But you're right, Stephen made the most impressive ones when the game was on the line. It was just awesome.
Well, the cool thing, these are guys that we weren't sure if we may have seen the best of all of them, right? Especially Klay. Draymond last year was like, is this guy even going to be able to be a functional NBA star for 7 months a year? And then Curry, even before the Olympics, it's like, all right, are guys passing him now? Is SGA ahead of him? We're doing this Ringer 100 exercise with the voting next week. And, that was always a tough one to put Curry in because you got to bring the resume and the experience and all the stuff he's done over the years, but he still has to back it up every once in a while. And I felt like he did it today. But the Klay piece of it, Jacobs. So, as a Celtic fan, we had guys come back, but they were like washed up versions of themselves. Like Robert Parrish came back. I forget whether he was on Charlotte or Chicago. It was like over. He was hanging on for a few more paychecks. It's like, the Chief, man. It's so glad he's doing well. We never had, I don't remember a core guy coming back like this and the emotions that you would feel. The closest thing I can come to is when Bird was coaching the Pacers. And he would come back as the Pacers coach. It's like, this sucks. Got Larry Bird on the other side. But, you're a natural skeptic. You're an emotional skeptic from time to time. Yes. You're a zagger. Yes. You tried to zag against Wemby early this season. I loved it. I thought it was great. But yet you're an emotional guy too. So this is gamut of emotions for you here.
And there was just so much coverage of it. And he literally said, he's like, I'm so locked in, I don't talk to those guys anymore. And I was like, But he's been well chronicled as sort of like a little bit of an aloof, sort of like Zen master goofball. And that just makes him more likable. I mean, I'm sure you remember the Grantland days and the Claytheism and all of that. And like, I just felt like he's not the type to get wrapped up in this the way other players would. But when you could tell that he was wrapped up in it, and as was I, and the game lived up to it. Like, I was very skeptical of this whole. I'm sure we'll talk about the Emirates NBA Cup and then the whole thing. But I'm going.
What is Emirates? Is Emirates an airline? What is it?
It's an airline. It's an airline. They'll take you straight to Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Good.
Yes,
good to know.
Yeah. And I was skeptical of the whole thing, the entire thing. But I walk away from tonight being like, I don't even have anything to complain about. I really don't.
It was a great 6 hours. It reminded me of, remember we would always tease Jalen about somebody that we knew he wasn't cool with. And he's like, no, we're cool. We're cool. No, we're fine. I wonder if like that's Klay talking about the Warriors. I have no idea how much he talks to those guys. If you read between the lines with all the Warriors stuff, everyone seemed to think it was time for him to move on. Even the Warriors side, it's like, hey, man, the guy was unhappy last year, which, Kirk, like you spent some time with the Spurs. Kawhi, the situation was a little similar, right? I mean, it was way more acrimonious, but it hit a point where it's like, all right, this isn't working anymore. It's time for this dude to move on. And it seems like everybody's happy, but at the same time, when they're going against each other in a playoff game and Curry's doing the night and, grabbing the Golden State chairs, it's like, there's a little bit of a fuck you in this.
Fuck you, but they all have captain's hats on while they're saying fuck you to him, I guess.
Right.
But dude, it was the CBA is a very cruel device. It's not a very nostalgic device. And I think, this version of it, Bill, is really just so harsh on teams. And it's so punitive for teams that overspend on players that aren't good enough for numbers. And that's what Klay was getting to. And dude, I think, forget tonight just for a second. They're 9-2. They won in Boston. They got beat in Cleveland. They won at Oklahoma City. And then they just beat a Dallas team. They're on a hell of a run here. They look deep. And I'm here to say that Mike Dunleavy and that group, as hard as this choice was, it looks like they made the right team building choice to get the last maybe chance with Steph Curry to get an MVP or to compete for a championship. So as hard as it was, I think they made the right call.
Kirk's lights literally just turned off as he was making that point. And you saw tonight, Buddy Hield was on the bench for crunch time, right? That would have been Klay because they needed the defense from that 2-guard spot. So Melton was out there, and that was the difference. I really respect what they did because they're over under, I think, before the year. I think it was 43.5. And like their play-in odds were even odds. I don't think it just felt like a team in transition that was kind of trying to chug along until January, February to make a trade for a disgruntled superstar was the vibe. But watching them these first 3 weeks, I don't know, Jacobs, do they feel like, would you go fringe contender, real contender? Where would you go?
No.
Fringe contender.
Like good story, good start team. I don't think this is scalable.
Oh, the Rabbit.
Don't think this, yeah. This is not like a 55 win 2 seed in the West. I just do not see it. I don't see it. I think this is a fast out of the gate team that will come back down to earth very, very soon.
See, I see it because of the defense. I think that, when we get to April, May, defense is what starts to separate people. And the defense that they play to me is top 5 from what I'm watching, especially when you think Minnesota slipped defensively, the Knicks have slipped defensively. You start going around the league and asking yourself who actually can play defense. I don't know. Yeah. How many defenses do you love, Kirk?
No, not many. And that when they've won the championship, that's been their formula. They're going to be remembered for all the threes, but the defense that Draymond has been running for years is great. And in this game down the stretch, Bill, was a great example. We had Wiggins like really guarding Doncic about as well as anybody can.
Welcome back, Andrew Wiggins. Yeah. Welcome back to the league.
He looks different. And then you have Draymond himself really getting into Gafford in some of the key moments and turning that 7-point lead into a tie game. And so everybody's going to think of this game. It's like a microcosm. Everybody's going to think of this game for Steph and those late threes. But it was also some major stops by some A-plus defenders. I will zag. I think this is for real. I think they could be 14-2 in their next. If we wake up in a week or two, they're 14-2. If you look at their next 5 games, that really seems like a contender, assuming Steph and Draymond are able to stay healthy, which at their age is a big question, obviously.
Jacoby, still time. Still time to get on the bandwagon.
I'm off.
They're playing the banged up Grizzlies, at Clippers, home Hawks, at Pelicans, and at your guy Wemby. Okay, that's the next 5.
this is the same thing that's happening with the Bucks. Is we're going to think very, very highly of the Warriors in 2 weeks, and we're going to think that the Bucks have righted the ship in 2 weeks, but it's just schedule based. It's not basketball based. Who's it outside of Steph? Who can
Such a
get
party
you a bucket?
pooper. Jesus, what's happening to you? What's happening to you? Is it the 3 kids? Is that why you've become a negative guy?
No.
You were so positive and happy. Now you're just ground down by fatherhood. Now you're just a negative guy now?
It's Steph Curry. It's Steph Curry. And he's great.
Yeah, but it's Steph Curry, but it's also Wiggins looking like Wiggins from 2-3 years ago. Right. And it's Draymond. No drama yet from him. Looking about as athletic as he's looked in a couple years. And that was the surprise to me, because if you had told me they were going to trade him this summer of 2024, I'd have been like, you're right, it's time. Too much drama. Too many things have happened. Maybe fresh start, try to get some assets. But now that would be crazy when you watch this guy play now. He's still one of the best 5 or 6 defensive players. With that said, he'll probably do something dumb in the next 48 hours. And that'll be it. I mean, he almost did it the other day. He did the flailing thing. Jacobs, I have a really important question to ask you about the night-night.
Okay. I don't ask a question. I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
I think it needs to be reserved like a Mike Breen bang. I think it's being overused.
Like a double, like a Mike Breen double bang, or a Mike Breen bang?
No, just a bang. You know what I mean? Probably a double bang, so a 1.5 bang. It's being overused, and it's diluting its effectiveness.
It's being overused because he's winning these major games. He beat Oklahoma City on their home court the other night. He beats Klay tonight. He wins the freaking gold medal. Like, he's not out there overusing it.
So can I be the tie-breaking vote? I love it. I think it's great. It's become like almost like a wrestling finishing move now. Now I like want it. Now when he went up 4 with 25 seconds, I was like, do it. Do the night-night. Do it. It's great.
It's also good because it brings out like dad vibes. It's like, go to bed, little child. Night. It's very condescending.
Well, and also it brings back memories to the France game, which was like a legitimately great American sports moment. And so every time he does it, I think of that. But I just feel like LeBron must be furious that he didn't think of this. Like, he's probably fired his like quirk management, whoever the guy is on his team, quirk edition management. It's like, how did you not give me the night-night? I would have been doing that in like 2013.
You gave me a book. You gave me The Godfather. That was supposed to be my thing.
You guys were supposed to come up with ideas like this for me. Why don't I have the night-night?
Yeah. But I do this weird stomp thing where I pound my chest. It sucks.
Kirk, where do you see Dallas right now in the whole contender hierarchy for you? Because they're a little off, but I think it's mostly because Luka doesn't look like Luka.
These are the exact games that we're not seeing in the Eastern Conference. So it's unfair for me to almost judge them. They didn't really click until the second half of last year, and that's probably generous. It was really February when this team really started to click. So with the addition of Klay Thompson, I think they're going to be very good. They're 5-6, I think, which is probably not what they want to be. But dude, I'll say I'm not worried about the Dallas Mavericks. I think their defense will come around. I think if you have Luka and Klay and Kyrie, your offense is going to be fine against every team in the league. So I'm not worried. I think this is just an awkward start, and they're playing the kinds of opponents, Bill, that we're not seeing Eastern Conference teams have to play. I was watching some of these Eastern Conference Emirates Cup games this evening, and some of the basketball wasn't as good, I would say. I noticed. So
you're right.
I think
you feel like the Emirates Cup was better last year?
Maybe it's peaked. I don't know.
I'll tell you what I don't like about the Klay Thompson era in Dallas, when he takes 17 shots in a game and Kyrie Irving takes 13. If I'm the other team, I'm like, great. That sounds awesome. So Klay's going to take the second most shots on your team. Fantastic. We'll sign up for that right now. Because I felt like Kyrie could have gone by anybody he wanted in that game tonight. And I still think he's terrifying. And I still feel like, I know Klay's like the new toy. You know, it's like when we used to play pickup once upon a time, we'd bring the third person and we'd try to get them involved in the first game. Then we want to stay in the court. We went back to what we did. Same thing. Eventually Klay is going to be, hey, Klay, stand in the corner and you'll get your 8 threes. But the big boys are going to handle this down the stretch, right? That's how this will play out, I would guess.
I think so.